Hey, welcome to another lesson. So this is what we have so far for our animation. This looks really good. We have the splat movement, we have the pattern moving, and we have all the rectangles and the balls moving also, so this looks really nice. Now what I want to move is this part, this Minimal Studio logo part. So if we see the preview, you can see how it comes from the middle, scaling up from 0 to 100%, and you can see this little nice animation, this stroke, which begins really big and then disappears. And of course then the letters come right to the middle. So I'm going to teach you how to create this effect. Of course I'm going to teach you how to create everything, but this effect is, I think you will enjoy this because it's a cool effect. You can see how the stroke disappears completely. So let's close this for now and let's begin animating this logo. Okay, I placed the marker here right when the balls begin to stop. So that means that this is the point where this black dot should appear. So for now I'm going to turn off the studio and the minimal layer because I want to animate first the dot. So I will open the scale properties for the dot because we won't play with the position but the scaling. He will appear out of the middle. So I'm going to open with the S key on my keyboard, and I'm going to create a keyframe here on this point right when the balls are stopped, and I'm going to move 10 frames here and create another keyframe. So on this first keyframe I'm going to change the scaling to 0%. Now it looks like this. Okay, so far so good. Let's turn this into easy ease. Okay, now I want to create this part, this stroke, this little like a burst that ends up here. You can see this stroke that disappears. I want to create that, and for that I'm going to right click on the dot layer and I'm going to select create shapes from vector layer. So I will have a duplicate of this black dot, but this duplicate will be a shape layer instead of an Illustrator file. So this dot, I'm going to open the scale here also, and here it is 0% and here is 100%, but I want this shape to be bigger, so I'm going to change this from 100% to 135%. So this dot will be bigger now. Remember to turn on the main dot. So I have two dots now, so that's cool. And now I'm going to change the fill of this dot. I'm going to change this to empty, to none, because I don't want the fill, I want the stroke only. So I'm going to change this to none. Now I want to change the stroke, so I'm going to open the settings here for these dot outlines, and I'm going to open the contents, the group, and I'm going for the stroke. As you can see right now we don't have any stroke. You can see that the stroke is showing a question mark. That means that this shape doesn't have any stroke. So if I want to create a stroke, I would have to go to this button here, the add button, and I'm going to select a stroke. So now this shape has a stroke. I'm going to make this stroke black, completely black, and I'm going to change the stroke width. So I'm going to open the stroke 1 settings, and you can see that we have the stroke width, and I want to change that when they are scaling. So I'm going to create a keyframe here, right when he is really small. I'm going to create a keyframe here for the stroke width, and I'm going to create another one here right at the end when it is really big, and I'm going to make this into 0%. So right now what we have is this, but of course I want this first stroke width to be bigger, a lot bigger actually. I want it to be maybe, let's see how it looks on 20. Maybe that's too much. Okay, perfect. So you can see that we now have the stroke on 20%, and then he will go down all the way to 0 pixels. So in the end it looks like a little burst. And all we did is animate the stroke width. So you can see that it's really simple to create a nice effect. And of course you can make this easy ease. You can color them. Let's color them orange. And now it's time to animate the two words, the studio and the minimal. Of course they need to appear right when these dots complete their appearance. So I'm going to create a new marker here. Here we go. And I'm going to grab these two layers, the studio and the minimal, and I'm going to press the opening bracket so that the layer begins right in this point. Now let's take a look at our main animation. You can see that these letters appear out of this circle, this dot, this black dot, and then go to the middle. So how do we do that? To do that we need to use the track matte again. And of course the track matte in this case will be the black dot itself. So I'm going to grab again my black dot, and I'm going to create shapes from vector layer. So I have a new shape with the same shape of the black dot. So I will use this one as a track matte. I'm going to place it here on top of the minimal word. Let's turn it off for now. So I have the minimal and I have the dot shape here, and I'm going to select my minimal layer, which is this one. I'm going to toggle the switches, and I'm going to set it to alpha matte. So when I go to this part, you can see that I only see the minimal when it's in the black dot. So that's exactly what I want. Now I will play with the position. I will create a keyframe here, and then on the 10th frame, 5 frames later, I will create a new one. So on the first keyframe I'm going to move this word to the right so that it disappears from the circle and then goes back here. I think this is too fast, so I'm going to move it a little bit more, like 10 frames. Yeah, 10 frames is okay. Okay, now I will repeat the same for the studio. So all I have to do is to duplicate this trackmate dot and place it on top of this studio word. And now on the studio I will select the track matte as alpha matte. So now if I move this word to this point, you can see that I have a mask. So change the position. Let's see here, create a keyframe at this point, and 10 frames later create a new one, and on the first one it will move from the left to the right, so it will be like this. You can see how the two words find each other at the center of the black dot. Now finally, all I have to do is to toggle the switches, and I will activate the blur for all these layers, the dot outlines, the minimal, and the studio. So if I hit play, I will have this for now. Now, of course, let me turn off the motion blur. And now I have this cool animation. You can see how nice it looks, the words with some blur. So everything has blur, and it gives a nice touch to the animation. Okay, now we're only missing one other thing, and it's this part, these wavy lines. You can see how they appear forming these wavy lines. So this is a very cool effect, and it's a cool effect to accomplish, and I will teach you that on the next lesson.